On this episode of the podcast, we have a website update. We talk about some apps that we've come across. One of them is a new one. We talk about the Aurora Borealis, or whatever it's called, wherever you are, and how good of a show that was. All this and so much more coming up. Welcome to episode 119 of the iPhoneography podcast. I'm Greg McMillan, and I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Mr. Dave Podner. Hello, David.
Greg, how's it going today for you?
Good, good. Um, we got a busy night tonight. Lots of things to talk about.
Hmm.
Um, so we'll leave our weather chat and all that stuff for another time, because, like I say, we got a lot to go over here. So, and that's good.
Hmm.
That's always a good thing.
Oh yeah, most
Um,
definitely.
so first, the first thing I want to do, first and foremost, I want to say a big thanks to all the supporters of the podcast through the uh, Buy Me a Coffee campaign. Um, it's really helpful to help keep things going here, and I just can't thank everybody enough. There's one person that supports regularly every month, I think it is. And I've had a few people come on and just send a donation or whatever, and I don't say thank you enough. So thanks a lot for all the help. Um, so we got the chat going here. It's nice to
Hmm.
see Shane Mostyn in there. G'day, mate. um, so the next thing I wanted to mention was the Mobiography photo contest. Andy Butler, who runs mobiography.net, and is the publisher of the magazine. If you haven't seen this digital magazine, it's all about mobile photography. It's really, really good. Well worth the prescription of it for a year. I think it's only like 20 some dollars. So it's pretty good. Um, so he sent me, stuff to share on social media, and so what I'll do is I'll put up the graphic in the podcast app. So if you're listening to the podcast, you'll be able to see it right now. And the contest is it's a photo contest, obviously. This year, so I'll read what he sent me, the information. This year's Mobiography Awards is now open for submissions. Mobile photographers from around the world will once again be asked to submit their very best work that captures the world around them. To answer, go to mobiography.net/awards. There'll be a link in the show notes. And the categories include abstract and digital art, black and white, landscape and nature, people and portraits, street photography, architecture, and the urban environment. That's all one category. Travel or a sense of place. That's all one category. And finally, special photo walk day category, the world around you. So it says there are over $4,500 in prizes to be won, as well as a chance to have your work showcased in Mobiography magazine. The deadline is June 2nd, so it's coming up quick, folks, if you want to get your submissions in. And the awards is sponsored by Reflex, and I'm not sure who else, but it's in the graphic. I'll be sure to maybe put something in the show notes about who is sponsoring the competition. But I know Reflex is probably the main one. So
Yeah.
if
Supporting
you,
partner. Yeah, the supporting. I'm on the website now. The supporting partners are listed as the app Whisperer,
oh
and
yeah,
Photo Museum Ireland.
okay, cool. All right. So if you have a great image to put in, go ahead. I don't know what it costs to enter. I think there's a fee to enter, but um, if you do enter, best of luck to you. All right. So that's the Mobiography photo contest. Um, okay, so this is an important notice I put as in my notes here. So iOS 17.5 came out a couple days ago. Or was it just yesterday? Anyway, whenever it came out, it was very recent. And it had a serious bug where old deleted photos would reappear in your photos library, even if the phone had been wiped previously. Now, I'm not sure. all the details on this, but this stuff really stood out in my mind. And like if you had wiped your phone clean and sold it to somebody else,
Mhm.
and they, signed in with their own Apple ID and all this stuff, what I'm hearing is that some of your old deleted photos could pop up into their photos library. Either that or it was your own phone and um you know if you had say you did a, I call it a nuke and pave, if you were having issues
Mhm.
with it and you wiped it clean and started over and signed back in with your Apple ID, some old photos could turn up. I'm not 100% sure what the case is, but either way, that's a pretty big security flaw. And now, today, Apple released an emergency update. They called it 17.5.1 that addresses that issue. So if you've updated to 17.5, make sure you update to 17.5.1 as soon as you can. And I believe this is an iPhone only update. I'm not sure. Maybe there's an iPad update too. I don't know. But uh, so Shane says, I had old deleted photos appearing in my recent feed amongst new pics. Yeah, see? So I wonder if
Mm.
that's, is that on 17.5, Shane? Like it's just the recent big update. Um, but yeah, oh yeah. Well, he says yes, it's happened to me. So that's a pretty big flaw. Now I didn't see anything like that in mine, and it's not everybody is seeing it, but there are people obviously that are seeing this. And Apple put this emergency update out. So get your phone updated to 17.5.1 ASAP. Yeah, Shane says, yeah, 17.5. So yeah, there you go. Case in point. Um,
And it is happening on an iPad. I see an article on The Verge about it, and it sounds like it is not cloud related because it did happen to someone who does not back up to iCloud.
okay.
So basically, when you delete a photo, for 30 days it goes into recently deleted. After 30 days, the image is still officially there. It's just a matter of there's nothing pointing to that image. And as they say on The Verge, until it rewrites over, the ones and zeros are still there. You supposedly can't get to them. So somehow it's getting reconnected.
That's interesting.
So, but this is
In a
all
way, it
on
kind of makes sense too. Like if it's
right.
not being overwritten, I can see how it could easily pop back in.
But
Um,
the question is, and this is only happening after you upgrade to 17.5. So if you have not updated to 17.5, still update, but you don't have to. Because this also happened with voicemails, it sounds like. So it isn't
hmm.
just photos. This is
Oh.
more of items which should be deleted. The connection's getting broke, but the deleted items are not getting overwritten and truly deleted. It's just those connections are going back for whatever reason.
Interesting.
So yeah, and the reason why they don't automatically just rewrite over, I think it's partially power and partially, even though these are SSDs for storage, there's only so many times you can write and rewrite. So if you deleted something and you rewrote over it every time, you're talking power, you're talking software use, and you're talking it could degrade your SSD, which from a software perspective, from a software and hardware perspective, you're like, well, it's basically deleted. If everything's working correctly, it would have to take someone with a lot of skill and effort, not your average user, to say. That's why sometimes if your hard like if a computer hard drive dies and you're like, I can't find anything on it, there are people out there who can go, and there are software programs which can find things which have been just plain deleted and not industrial security deleted, which is a different step.
Yeah.
So it sounds like
Yeah.
that's what happened here, is that the new updating the operating system popped up old photos. Now, why did that happen? That's a good story. I'm assuming they found it because there's a fix. So they know what happened and they corrected the fix. But this, and I think the sensationalism is that one of the people it happened to, they had a bit of some racy pics they deleted, and it was the racy pics that came back. So
Hmm.
it isn't just average photos. It's, oh, I'm just scrolling through and naked picture. Multiple naked people doing stuff, apparently. It said NSW. So everyone has their
Oh,
own definition of NSFW pics, you know. It could be as something as simple of, someone in a bikini,
oh yeah, who
that
knows,
could be
right?
not, or it could go, you know, making special photos for that special night. Whatever you do in the privacy of your own home, that's whatever you do, as long as you're not breaking the law. But if you delete something, you expect it to be gone and not
Yeah.
magically pop up, especially when you could be showing something at work, or it could be a family member that you're showing recent, that you want to delete pictures for a reason most of the time. A lot of
Hmm.
times for us, I think it'll be, I took a picture, it didn't turn out, oh, I don't like that, delete.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
yeah, I don't like how that edit, yeah, I'm going to delete it and I'm just going to keep the original. But there are times you take a picture of a document or a receipt and you don't want it on your phone anymore for security reasons. It could
yeah.
be
Oh yeah.
sensitive information on there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like I've taken pictures of receipts and things like that before, and
Mm-hmm.
then I delete them, and I
Yeah.
expect them to be gone. If I don't
Yeah.
erase the deleted, the recently deleted folder, then after 30 days, I expect that to be totally gone. But I don't know. Uh, so hey, Todd Weiner's in here. Hello, Todd. Thanks for joining us. And Dale Otherington. Greg just had tons of captures that were not straightened. Yes, Dale, that could be the case. Could be.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm on the Straight Horizon Police or whatever. But um, but yeah, if you're on 17.5, definitely do the update immediately. And you know, like you said, Dave, who knows what Apple did to fix it, but it's apparently fixed. And I guess maybe one of these days we'll find out exactly what they did. And if it's something to do with the overwriting, hopefully it doesn't affect the life of the SSD in the phone too badly. But I guess we'll see. Um, so we're going to talk about some apps tonight. But one more thing before we do that. Uh, so the website, I have an update about that. The website was hosted on Wix.com because it was free, and with all the episodes and our recent photos and things like that, it's taken up space and it's run out of space. So it's going to remain there for people if they want to look up past episodes. But it was getting to the point now. I don't know if this was because of the storage issue or what, but it was getting to the point where I put a feature photo there, at the top of the post, and it just kept repeating the same post or the same picture for the last two or three episodes, even though I put a different picture in. I don't know. It's dumb. But anyway, um, so what I've done is I've started a Facebook page. So we have the group, the iPhoneography podcast group on Facebook, but this is a Facebook page. And if you use the same URL that you use to go to the website, which is iPhoneography.ca, it will now land you on the Facebook page where you'll see the show notes from the last episode there. And they're going to look the same as they do on the YouTube videos and on the website. It's going to have all the links and everything else. All the pertinent information is going to be there. Our recent photos or whatever, any photos that we talk about are going to be there. And um, it's unlimited storage. It's free. And I know it's Facebook, but now tell me, Dave, I don't know if you know this or not, or if anybody listening. Um, do you have to be on Facebook in order to see a Facebook page and its contents?
I don't know. I don't know because I'm signed on to Facebook for everything.
Yes, yeah, so am I.
So, you know what though? Let me try this. So, I don't know if this will, you know what? I do have a, I'll be able to tell you in a minute here because I have a web browser. This is my work computer. So, I have
Oh,
a web
okay.
browser which I'm not hooked up, which I only use for like one site that we use for work. So, I'm not hooked up to Facebook for anything.
Okay.
So let me go to the site and see. It is asking. Okay, it does. When you go there and you're not logged in, it's asking you to log in, but you can exit out and view the page itself. It says here, log in or sign up to connect with people you know. So
Hmm.
it is asking for a login, but you can view the page without a login. You just have to get rid of a pop up. That's all.
Okay, cool. All right. So
Yep.
that's good to know. All right. So, the group will function as it always has, for interaction, sharing photos, all that stuff. And the web or the page will act as the website for the podcast. Um, you know, I think it's just the easiest way to go about it. Uh, I hate to say it, but I'm on Facebook every bloody day. Just, because of all the groups that I'm in and stuff like that, people are posting things and I love to see this stuff. But so, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a half decent experience. I'm going to create albums maybe for, I don't know if I want to do an album for each episode, or I could maybe create albums for our recent photos and just keep adding to it, or something. I don't know. Either that, or I'll just keep every post separate, and each episode will have a post on there with all the pictures and links and everything included, and maybe I'll just leave it at that. That's probably the simplest way. But I think that's the best way to go for now, at least anyway. Unless I win a lottery and can afford to run a nice, beautiful, big website. But anyway, so that's what's going on with the website. If you've tried to hit the link for the website and end up on Facebook, that's why. But it's been set up like that for a few days now, and I just wanted to make sure I talked about it
Mhm.
here and everybody can understand what's going on there.
Now, I
But
will agree with you that everyone hates Facebook, but everyone is also on I don't want to say everyone. A lot of people are on Facebook. Same thing with Twitter/X. There's lots that I don't like about how that site goes, but it's still mass. Same thing with Instagram. Those are still the big three, even though they're not it isn't now. It used to be Facebook for talking to people, Twitter for like broadcasts and looking at what people are putting out in news, and Instagram for your photos and some videos here and there. It's no longer segmented like that, but it's still that's where that and TikTok are the mass of people.
yeah,
So you have to go where the people are.
yeah, that's true. Go where the eyeballs are. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, I honestly think the page will probably get more people looking at it than they will
Mm-hmm.
than we did on the website itself. Um, I looked at the numbers for the views and whatever on the website, and it wasn't terribly good. It was at the point where I thought to myself, do I even bother with this stuff? Putting the show notes out there, on a website. Um, but then I thought, if I did it on Facebook, everybody's there anyway, and
Mm-hmm.
we could put a post on the group that there's a new episode, new show notes are on the page, and link right to the page,
Yeah.
or whatever, right? So I
Well,
think it's the
yeah.
way to go for now.
And we do, and I don't know if you want to say, I'll say this so you don't have to. If you go to the page for the podcast, please like it because that helps get the information out. There is a recommend button if you do recommend the podcast. It does ask you a simple question: why do you recommend? And you do have to be logged in for both of those, but both of those help get the information out about the podcast and spread the word. We appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good thing to mention, Dave. Thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah.
That's why I keep you around because you think of stuff that I never do. But now we're going to talk about some apps. This first one, I think it's been around for quite some time, but I didn't
Hmm.
know about it. And if I did know about it, I forgot about it. But it's called BMO Stitch. So BIMO STITCH. There's a BMO Stitch Lite. There's a light version, and then there's a paid version. And what it is it's an app that stitches individual photos together to make a panoramic. And of course, as you know, if you do a panel that way, you have to overlap each image to do it right. And boy, oh boy, this app does a fantastic job of stitching images together. Now, I'm going to pull up one. We each have a panel, and I'm going to show everybody. Dave did one first,
Hmm.
and man, oh man, it's pretty good.
Now, I'll also say I do have a possible issue.
Oh, okay,
Let me ask. Let's finish with what you're sharing here. So this is
yeah,
is my backyard.
hmm,
And this isn't just straight across. So I did, I believe, three photos across on two different rows.
oh, so this is 6 images.
Yeah, this is six images,
Okay,
and it did, like you said, it did a great job. I did have to do post process. If you look at it, you're like, it looks post process. It looks a little HDR ish. That's because this was a sunset, and like the holly trees in the back of the house, which I know I have to cut down. Um, that area was exceptionally dark because that photo I only did that little bit on. So in reality, what I probably should have done was adjust for brightness and everything before stitching. But I figured I wanted to try it as simply as little effort as possible. So I took the pictures and stitched them and then went into Lightroom Mobile and adjusted the light to brighten it a little bit and to boost the color a little bit.
yeah, okay.
But yeah, the stitching itself, like you said, you couldn't tell, you literally can't tell how many images this is made up of.
No, I mean, I see a couple of spots. I will admit, uh, and I think it's because you did 2 rows, right?
Yeah.
There's one spot right here. If you can see my cursor moving, now you won't see it on the podcast app, obviously, but there's a spot there, and there's another spot somewhere around here. I think it's right here. It looks where it looks like it had, maybe issues with the blending type of thing, or this,
Yeah.
stitching it together where it
Mm-hmm.
it it kind of copied the same thing a few times or whatever. But it's hard to tell. I mean, it's hard to
Yeah.
tell.
You have to pixel peep for it.
Yeah, sure. And you know what? I've always seen pictures from the back of your house looking up the hill, but this is the first time I've seen one from the hill looking down. So
Ah.
that's kind of cool. But but yeah, I mean it does a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, okay, so when you look for the show notes, you'll see this picture on Facebook, and I imagine when I post these on there, it's gonna probably show it like a panel, so you can actually go across it. I don't know if that's an automatic thing, Dave. Do you know, or is that an
Um,
optional thing?
it depends on Facebook. In the Facebook group, gives you that option.
Oh, okay,
I don't know on a website. I think it just posted, but yeah, since it is a pano, if you view it on Facebook, you can actually use your either if you're on the mobile device, you can move your device or move your
yeah,
mouse to look around it.
yeah, okay. Um, so yeah, I mean, and you went 2 rows, and I only went 1 row. but I forget whether it's 5 or 6. But we were up in a neighboring town the other day, and I thought I'd give it a try. And this is a marina at a harbor, and I made sure I got a good overlap of like at least a quarter of the frame, and it stitched this sucker together, and I cannot tell where it's stitched at all. Um, it did such a good job, and so now let's talk about the difference between um, free and paid. So, where are my notes here? Okay, so um, I got free, but a couple of minor issues. One is ads, but hey, it's free, so yeah, you're going to get ads.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, with the light version, you can't save your stitched panoramic image to the Photos app. You have to save it to the Files app first. And then from the Files app, you can open it and then use the Share Sheet button to save it to Photos. So, I mean, it's possible to do, but it's just a little cumbersome. But I mean, I guess that's the price you pay for
Mm-hmm.
having the free version. Now, the paid version, obviously, no apps. Uh, but you know what? It's not that expensive. It's $7.99 one-time payment, Canadian. So
Yeah.
whatever it is in your country, but it's $8 Canadian.
Yeah. And I
And
did, and Greg, I did look. US it is 599 US.
yeah, so that's the nice thing about it. It's a one-time payment.
Yeah,
And
not a subscription.
right. And then with the paid version, you can when you get your panel all done, you can hit the save button and you can save it directly to Photos. You don't have to go through this, you know,
Multiple step. Yeah.
yeah, you don't have to jump through hoops to get it into the Photos app. You could just save it right to Photos.
Mm-hmm.
There are other, pluses for having the paid version, and I think I should have read over this stuff. I've been just been so busy, but I think you can shoot up to 200 pictures and put them together in the paid version. I'm not sure, but I'm sure you'd be able to do a lot more than you could do in the free version. Um, but I mean, for $6 in the US or $8 in Canada or whatever it is, wherever you are,
Yeah.
um, it's a good app.
Yeah.
Now, years ago, I forget which version of iOS it was that that they changed everything to 32-bit or to 64-bit from 32-bit.
Mm-hmm.
The best stitching app on iPhone back then was Auto Stitch. I mean, we used to talk about that on Tiny Shutter.
Mm-hmm.
And when iOS went to 64-bit, if you didn't change your app to 64-bit, it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
The folks at AutoStitch didn't do that, and that it was gut wrenching because AutoStitch is such a good app. But now this one, and again, I don't know how long this has been out. I never thought to look in the App Store when it was released, but I'm
I have
so
it up.
glad
Hold
I've
on. I have it up here. So let me look and see if it's over 40 years old.
yeah. So I mean,
Oh, I'm sorry.
where
That's
was
the
this?
age rating. That's the age rating. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So let me see if I can, while you're talking about it, I'm gonna try to find see
Yeah,
if they have the release notes here
yeah. I don't
because
know where this
version
has been, but
history.
it's an awesome stitching app. And now Shane says looks like exposure is different in the sky images. Maybe it's
Yeah,
just the
it was
HDR
on
look.
mine. No, no, on mine one.
Okay.
I imagine Shane, you're talking about mine, and you're absolutely correct. It's because literally, if you look on the right, it's the sun right there, and it was going from exposing for kind of looking almost directly into a sunset to 45, 60 degrees off.
Oh yeah.
So it definitely that was, and since I only don't have the paid version of Lightroom Mobile, and I don't, I'm assuming you can do this. I just don't know how. Do a gradient color shading on the sky to correct for that. I don't.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I don't know how to do it. Or I think if I did it, it probably would mess it up even more.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's part of just doing an extra challenging shot where some of it's directly into the sun and the other one's kind of off on the side there.
Yeah. 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 Dale Lotherington in the chat says the 5S was the first 64-bit phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dale, do you remember which iOS version came out with that one? I have to think it was
But that isn't when they killed 32. They let 32 and 64 survive for a little bit combined, I thought.
oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, I want to say they because they have to give warning.
Yeah. I want to say it was iOS 8, but I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, also, Shane saying it looks like beneath that, I wonder how I'll go with an Astro Stitch. I don't know. I don't know if it depends on if you have any of the horizon, because of the horizon can you could use the clues on like the trees or hills or buildings. But if it's straight sky only without anything else there, I don't think there's enough clues to do the right stitching.
Hmm. Yeah.
And the other thing I tried today was I tried to do a pano where instead of me standing in one place and taking a photo, I tried doing a walking pano
Oh, okay.
where
Yeah.
I took a picture, walked, made sure it was overlap, take a picture, take a picture, take a picture. I took around
Hmm.
8 pictures down around 30 feet worth of walking, and it couldn't handle it.
Yeah. I think
It
the perspective change from
yeah,
each each
it,
part.
and I tried that yesterday too, doing like the side of my car.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
couldn't back up enough to stand in one location, but I tried just walked because you can do that with the built-in piano. You can do a walking piano
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
with the iPhone. So if you just use panoramic and you kind of walk along, um, it it can actually do the panoramic with it. This one, it needs to, I think, like you said, geometry wise, it assumes you're in one position, just rotating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's interesting. And I do remember when the panoramic feature first came to iPhone, one of their commercials on TV showed somebody like there's a whole row of people and
mm-hmm.
somebody was walking with the iPhone taking the panel, but it was
Mm,
a perfectly white, clear, like clean white background.
yeah.
So I mean that's gonna make it look pretty decent, I think. So if you do that, say on a city street or something like that, and you got a group of people and you want to walk along and do a panel, um, I mean, if the iPhone can handle that, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, BMO Stitch. We'll have links in the show notes for both
Mm-hmm.
the light and the paid
And
version.
like I said, give it, especially since there is a light version available.
Oh yeah, give it a try.
Download and give it a try. The worst thing is that you find out it doesn't work for you. Now, the only thing you have to watch out for, like I did with the photos I did today, was trying to do the walking pano. I did the photos, but I was out and I was at lunch, so I didn't really have time to stop, open up the app, let it stitch because it can take a little bit of time if you have lots of images, and then figure out and then reshoot. I didn't have that ability,
Mm-hmm.
so I would say until play with it, get used to it, know what the limitations are, know how to use well, and then once you do that, then springboard off of that and know how to use it. Actually, I just double checked. The image I did actually had 5 on top, 4 on the bottom.
Oh really?
So there were 9 images altogether.
Oh okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And if it could stitch something like that together, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Took a little
because
bit of
usually,
time. I had
yeah,
a,
you
yeah,
usually you put the same number top and bottom,
right.
but that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
impressive, staggering them like that.
The other thing I noticed, and this is when I tried to do my one at lunch. Maybe it was the fact that I was just off a run. I don't know. Maybe things were, you know, hot. The phone was hot, maybe because I was out and it's warm today, or my hands were a little sweaty. I don't know, but I was hitting the screen and it wasn't selecting the image. It's like, okay, I hit the button. I hit the button. Nothing's happening. Why? Where's my check mark? Where's my check mark? Come on, come on. Try
Yeah.
and get this together before I have to go back to work. Hit the button. Check mark. So that was a little aggravating. But when I tried it later on, after I got home, it worked fine. So
Oh yeah.
it may have been a couple of things going on for all we know.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows?
Use
Well,
a
that's
skateboard to smoothly slide or car, bike, sideways piano. Yeah. Well, I would not use a skateboard for myself because I would break something. Uh,
and you're not talking about your phone.
no, that would make it broken too, but more than likely it wouldn't. Yeah, there would be parts of my body that would definitely be broken or at least red afterward. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, do or use the point 0.5 zoom if you're going to do like a walking piano, because that way you get a lot more buffer that you can crop top and bottom
Yeah, that's true.
if you happen to move a little up and down like this because you're zoomed out more if you can.
Yeah. Um, uh, Scott Baker says impressive or incredible. And then Shane, 2 times incredible. Yeah. So that's kind of an inside joke with the Bloody Legends admin group, where when it was I think it was the latest iPhone announcement, they said incredible. I don't know how many times in that announcement. And
Mm-hmm.
and if you watch any announcement, really, especially recent ones, they say incredible a lot. Oh, this is
Yeah.
incredible. It's incredible. Oh, it's
Well,
crazy.
they always try to pick one thing and repeat. It's good. It's good marketing.
Oh,
Pick pick pick
all
pick
their
one
announcements are
adjective.
marketing.
Pick adjective. No, it didn't. Shane's asking, did take off much of the because I did the top with 5 and the bottom 4.
Oh, right.
Not really, but I also did more overlap on top than I did on the bottom.
Oh, okay.
So I was being kind of overly cautious with not moving it too much on the top. And then when I did the bottom, that was so I kind of went across, down, and back. And when
Hmm.
I did across, I was kind of like, okay, now I need to overlap. Got to be careful. Don't want to move too much. But on the way back, it's like, okay, I can move a little. And it just worked out that way. So the shot was pretty much a rectangle.
Right.
So it
Yeah.
didn't really chop off that much in terms of what happened.
Hmm. Okay, cool. Um, Maybe, just maybe, if we ask him nice enough, Shane can do a video with this app with the Astro stuff. Maybe Shane, do you think? um, that would be cool, by the way, Shane, if you did. Anyway, that's pretty much it for BMO Stitch that I can think of right now.
Hmm.
Haven't really, done too much with it, but I will be using it some more, and I think it's going to be fun to play around with. The other app that we're going to talk about is Relapse. Now, this is a new app from the folks at Reflex, and what it is it's a time lapse slash hyperlapse app. So it's a video app, and it's pretty good.
Hmm.
Now, I doggone it, I wanted to get out yesterday and do a good time lapse. Didn't have time. Wanted to get out today. Didn't have time. I did try a very short one today, but what I'm finding, and I don't know if this is just me, just my phone, or what it is, but if you try to stop it short, like I say, I had it set to go for about, say, 12 minutes, and it was going to produce a 15-second time lapse. I stopped it before it was done, and the app just crashes. And in the
Mm.
Files app, where it's supposed to save for a backup, which it does, there you could see that it says there's a file there, a movie file, 30 some megabytes or whatever. which sounds probably about right for the length of time I had it going. But when I stopped it short, you know what? I'm gonna check now. Maybe it's processed and it's in there now. But
Hmm.
it didn't it didn't give me a video.
No.
Yeah, so like
See,
I say, let me look now.
let's say I tried one this afternoon. I tried one. I tried a couple. Because even though this is a subscription only, and the subscription's a great, it is a reasonable price. It's like, at least in the US, like $5 a year, or buy it
Yeah,
outright for 14 or 15. So it's reasonable. But the the one I did today, I did cut short, not a lot, like 20 seconds or so.
yeah. So I'm gonna put it up on the screen. Do you mind if I show it, Dave?
Oh yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Okay, before you
Uh,
do that, hold on, Greg. Hold on. Say hello.
She was quiet. I
uh,
wasn't gonna bother
Say
her.
hello to Daisy.
And she started meowing again.
yeah, we're gonna get a
Little
little
baby,
more
so
information
tiny.
about her shortly.
Yes, you are.
But that's Dave's wife, Ruth. Hello, Ruth.
Greg says hi.
And their new addition to their family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we'll hear more about the new addition here shortly. But anyway, where was I?
You were
Yes,
showing
okay. So
the
I
yeah,
looked in the Files app, and that
yeah.
video. I mean, there's a placeholder there for it. There's a file there for
Mm-hmm.
it, but it doesn't show the video. It doesn't play the video.
Mm.
So, but anyway, so the one I'm going to show is, I would say, Ruth took it, Dave, in the car.
Yes, yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I drove. She held the phone. So yes,
Yeah.
definitely
Okay.
on the. Yeah, always being safe there.
Yeah. Okay. So this
No,
is
no.
Dave and Ruth's trip through
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh,
Yep.
and it's not bad. I mean,
No,
it looked like the camera focused on the dash and
it did. Yeah.
instead of what's in front, but that's fine. I mean, this was just a trial, obviously. And
Exactly.
yeah, and I think it does a good job, you know. Uh
Yeah, and actually, the fact that I set it for 10-15 minutes, I think.
yeah.
And if I would have known to tell Ruth, click on the screen, make sure it's focused on what's out the windshield,
Oh yeah. Yeah. But I
which
mean,
I
hey,
didn't even think. But yeah, like I said, for a test. So this is
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, this is go. It starts in Verona, a town near us. Goes through when you go over kind of not the big bridge, but the little bridge that's into Oakmont, and then over the other bridge that's into Harmerville.
Oh
So
yeah.
these are three little boroughs which are close to each other.
Okay, so it was about, I don't know what, 15 seconds or so long,
Yeah.
but how long did it take to actually record it?
Actually turned out to be around 30 seconds.
Oh, was it? Okay, I
And yeah,
wasn't
I think
sure.
it was like 30 seconds.
Oh, it is there,
And yeah,
34 seconds. Yeah.
and I want to say it took 10 minutes.
Yeah. So with the app, you can set the frame rate.
Hmm.
Oh gosh, what else can you do? I might as well open the darn thing
Yeah. Well, you
and
can
have a
set
look
how
at it.
many frames you want to do, and you can set how quick you want to do it. And that
Yeah.
determines how long everything is.
But the
And
nice
one
thing
thing
about
is you get 10 for free.
oh, okay.
Yeah, at least I got 10 for free.
Yeah,
So I'm
well,
assuming
yeah.
this isn't only a US thing. That I don't know. But you get 10 for free to try out before it makes you pay for it.
Yeah. Well, me and my excitement for the app, I just went and
Yeah.
bought it.
Oh no, that
because
makes sense. Yeah.
because I'll use it, right? I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
Um, but the nice thing about it is you can not only set the frame rate and the interval, but there's effects which are either star trails or motion blur. And so star trails, obvious, for making star trails at night. The motion blur is good for smoothing out, the activity in the time lapse. Like I would say for if you have it, if you got your phone set up and it's somewhere where there's like a lot of traffic or something,
Yeah.
it looks a little nicer when there's just a little blur between each frame, to show to kind
Mm-hmm.
of really emphasize the movement of the vehicles or the people or
Mm-hmm.
whatever's moving in the frame. And that's what I want to play around with. I want to get a shot. I want to get a sequence where, there's some traffic or something going on. And I think 1 second is probably pretty good.
I tried to do that with Light Trail, but I didn't exactly know how to set the thing to set the how to set it up.
Oh yeah.
So I hit the little star with the arrows behind it like it's
Yep.
moving,
Hmm.
but I hit it for like 30-second intervals.
Oh yeah.
And I let it go for an hour outside, and it was just the stars just turned out blurry. There was no
Okay.
movement.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm just these ones you have to just get used to. This is
Yeah.
one thing is it doesn't for the effects. It really doesn't step you through it.
Yeah.
The other part you can kind of figure out. But for me, the effects, I don't know what the time I'm doing in terms of it's the one thing they probably need a little more documentation or a little more hand holding, which I understand when you're deep into developing an app, you don't have that outsider's lack of knowledge to say,
Yeah. Yeah.
so what is this thing? What does this do? Because you're so immersed, you know what it is, forward
Hmm.
and backwards.
Well, if like okay, so David Addison, he seems to be their uh, video guy or a guy that makes videos
Mm-hmm.
about their products. And he's got a video or two about this app on YouTube, I think on the Reflex channel. But there's been a couple of other guys do videos about it. One of them is iPhoneography.tv, I think it is. Oh gosh, and his name escapes me, but he does a lot of filmmaking with iPhone stuff, and he's put one out. Basically, it's like a walkthrough through the app, but the app is very like if you use Reflex, you'll be this is going to look somewhat familiar. The interface looks very familiar.
Yeah.
Across the top, you got your timer, you got your
Mm-hmm.
your crosshairs or whatever, you got your grid, your settings icon, things like that. But the other thing about this app is you can take manual control over things like the ISO, the shutter speed, manual focus, white balance, and the EV, like the exposure value. It has focus peaking, histograms, zebra
Mm-hmm.
stripes, all the stuff that you see in Reflex and even re-expose. A lot of it has you're going to see in this app, and that's what makes it pretty cool. And even like, if you've got, say, your shutter speed set, you want to get back to auto, double tap on the screen, just like you do in Reflex. That's just one little thing
Yeah.
that these apps have in common. You got um, camera selector and that. But
Mm-hmm.
for as far as output goes, you've got 4K and you've got max. Now, I don't know what max means,
Well,
but
actually,
there's
I
no
did look into
ProRes
this.
or anything like that.
I did look into it.
Oh yeah.
4K is basically 16 by 9. Max will give you a 4 by 3.
Ah, right. Okay. Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's more I
Basically it's the maximum of the sensor, maximum resolution
exactly
of the
where
sensor.
16 by 9 is always a crop.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And a couple of
Yeah.
things from chat. As Shane said, it does chew through battery life, which there is you can do if this is one of these set it and forget it that you want to do for time lapse. You can there is an in-app low power mode
Yeah.
where it does not show the screen, and then you can turn your own phone into low battery mode, and that helps a little bit. Um, and let's see here. And Maurice Backley was saying, how's it different from Moment? And I would say it's just a different it's a different company's spin on stuff.
Yeah, I
You
would think
know,
so.
literally, if it is literally the main strength, even though it can do light trails and it can do star trails, the strength here is time lapse, and also as they called it, that what me and Ruth did, hyperlapse,
Yeah, yeah.
where time lapse they're defining it as you stay in one place and you see the world change around you. Hyperlapse, you're moving with you move the device
You're
with a
moving
mouse.
through the world. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, it's changing. Now, when David Addison did it as part of their thing on a not a gondola, but a um I don't my brain just kind of right now. But he was just he was doing a video as he was moving on the
Yeah.
thing. He had a gimbal.
Right.
So he was
Yes.
keeping his hand still-ish anyway, because he was seated, had his hand steady, plus he had a gimbal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, it looked beautiful and smooth as you're going up and down on the wire, and you're seeing, things moving around
Oh
and the
yeah. It was
time
on a
lapse.
tram. Yeah.
Yeah, tram, yeah. So that worked great. The way I tried it, I wanted to try it yesterday, but I did do it at lunch today, where basically I held the phone up, I put it on for 10 minutes. I think it was 10 minutes, and said, give me this, and then it hit start, and I held the phone up with my hand and I ran.
Yeah.
And looking at the yeah, you need a focus point ID and all the exposures. I would say for the hyperlapse I was trying to do about running, I was running on a trail. So I was kind of always, except for the very last part, going in one direction straight ahead, where it was out in the open and then under tree canopy cover and then back out in the open again. So I was
Yeah.
trying to get kind of that going into a tunnel, in a tree tunnel, out of a tree tunnel view. And it didn't, no, it basically, if you looked at it, straight out, because of all the bouncing, because it was a crushed gravel trail, but it was not concrete, so it was not flat, so it was a little bit of jumbling and bouncing and moving around. Now if I had a gimbal or something else to help keep me steady as I'm doing it, it would look a whole lot better.
No, I wonder though, and I said this to you earlier today. I wonder if it would really help though, because the thing is
a little.
it's not like the ultra wide with its real steady, stabilization that you could run with and still get a smooth image, but because it's taken individual pictures and then placing them one after another, I don't
Right.
know how well that would work.
Right.
But
I did find out though that I went into iMovie. I slowed it down to a third of what it was. So I slowed it down a little bit more, put kind of a vintage 1970s filter on it through iMovie,
mhm.
and uploaded the movie that way. And it looked a little bit better that way. Also,
Oh,
having
yeah.
that vintage look made it look
And
different.
there's an anti-shake feature in iMovie as well.
Okay.
Maybe
So I think
maybe
it
you could
helped
try
out a
that
little bit
too.
that way. Yeah.
Um, but Blake Calhoun, that's the name I was looking for. Thanks, Maurice. He's got I think it's iPhoneographers.tv, but he's got a YouTube channel. Um, he's pretty good at showing a lot of video stuff, and he tests a gazillion different products. But so let's see here. Dale says, take one step photo, repeat hundreds of times, 30 photos a second. Yes, Dale, that's you've done that before, and those hyperlapses were really cool. Shane says that seems to be the way with apps now. Almost everything has been done before, and the new app developers invent the wheel. Sometimes they do something groundbreaking, though. Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's only so many things that you can create, right? As far as an app goes, and um, there's nothing wrong with somebody putting their own spin on something. I haven't used the Moment app to do this kind of work. Um, so to say what it's like, compare one to the other, I myself don't know, but anybody that does know, um, by all means, let us know. Like Shane, I think you've probably tried it. I'm sure. I don't know. Um, Oh, and Dale says try DaVinci Resolve for free. It's stable. Is that what its stabilizer is great. Yeah, I have DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah.
it is free. It's wow, it's like a free version of Final Cut Pro pretty much. And it's
Hmm.
about 95% of the functionality of the app. There's only a very small number of things that you can't do in the free version. So it is really good, but it's a real learning curve to learn how to use it.
Hmm.
So there's that. Um, but uh, but you know what? Kudos to the guys at Reflex for coming up with this. I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty easy to use. You know, there's a few things I haven't tried with it yet. There's a few things that I don't know about it, I suppose. Um, but I'm gonna play around with it. I'm gonna try,
Hmm.
different things and see what I can come up with. My biggest thing is finding the time to go and sit somewhere for an hour or an hour and a half and make a decent length of a time lapse. Um, but dadgummit, I'm gonna do it one of these
Now,
days.
now I'll answer also a question that it was saying about the ultimate test being going from light to dark,
Oh, right, yeah.
at a sunset. So, unfortunately, I just checked when sunrise is locally here, and that's at a little before 6 a.m. I do not plan on being up tomorrow a little before 6 a.m. I'm working from home tomorrow, so I do not plan on being up that early to try, and also to be up early enough when it's dark because it's not overcast, it's pretty light. So I mean, it's very low clouds in the last couple of days. So I don't get up. I don't plan on getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning when it's dark, and then setting up the camera and letting it. Maybe tomorrow night.
Yeah. You
You
know,
know.
I think I saw a video where somebody did, you know, that kind of thing, a sunset type of
Yeah.
thing. And I have a feeling, this is just my gut instinct here, that it's going to perform quite nicely.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, if you leave it on auto, leave your exposure settings on auto, I see no reason why it can't make
Yeah.
a pretty decent um, time lapse, and not look, all janky and the exposure kind of going all over the place. But the
Hmm.
proof will be in the pudding,
Yeah.
and maybe what's today? Maybe tomorrow. Oh, I don't know if I have time.
Today is the
I don't think
20th, so yeah.
no. It's Monday and tomorrow's Tuesday. I don't think I'll have the opportunity at sunset to
Hmm.
try that. I'll have to see. I'll have to wait and see. I say that because I have a meeting to go to at 7 o'clock. But if the meeting is going to be at my buddy's house, maybe I could set it up in his yard while we're having the meeting, let the phone do its thing. There's always that.
Yep.
So, yeah, so
I
that's
plan. You know
relapse.
what though? I plan on maybe trying it because um be let's see, we have a couple of things in chat here because my bedroom window looks directly west, so I can actually put the phone in my bedroom window, use um the screen to kind of keep it safe, and let it go for an hour and a half, as long as I'm not using the phone, and just let it do its thing.
Mhm.
And I just have to kind of block it so no cats get close to the window to
Yeah,
get a little curious, and I don't want that to happen.
yeah.
Now we do have
Uh,
a couple questions in chat here. It says here, reflex is basically moment, read held is basically specter, re-exposed is basically
even
EL,
longer.
even longer, yeah. Vintage looks are basically the same, yeah. Can't find anything that does the same as relapse yet. The Apster lapse, but only with some light pollution, very dark, yeah, which kind of makes sense. With
Hmm.
some moonlight it's good. So yeah, I mean a lot of times we are pushing what the phone and what the apps were really designed to do,
Yeah,
you know, setting up the phone in a decently well lit area while people are going around you and things are happening. That's great, and that's what they were expecting. Trying to do a long exposure is different.
yeah. Maurice Backley says, to be clear, the Moment app has had time lapse for several years with motion blur. Choose frame rate, choose number of frames, offers max resolution, all of what re-expose is talking about, or I think he means what relapse is talking about. Yeah, so again, like I say, you can only somebody's got to invent the wheel. That is true, but there's nothing wrong with somebody else, you know, making a different set of rims for it and putting it out there. Uh, I think it's fair game, and I think Relapse is pretty good myself. And I'm not saying that because I like Reflex. I do like their products, um, but I gotta be a little open and unbiased about things because there's a lot more than just Reflex in this world. In fact, I've been using Pro Camera a bit lately because I forgot how good it was. I'm
Mhm.
trying it out and playing around with it. In fact, my panoramic image was shot with Pro Camera. Um, so there's that. But but I even told the guys at Reflex, I'm using other stuff. Don't think I'm just
Yeah.
because I like the product, don't think it's the only thing I use because it's not. Um, I think because what we do, Dave, we have to be unbiased and try other things, and that's
Hmm.
just the way it goes. Um,
And apps get better and worse. An
well,
app
sure,
doesn't stay the same. It's going to have updates. It may improve. We've seen apps get worse.
yeah.
So,
I used to think Spectre from the guys at Halide. I used to think it was the cat's ass until Reheld came out.
yeah.
I think Reheld blows it away. Um, I just think it's better, and for doing long exposures handheld, yeah, you're not going to find anything that does it as well. Um, that's just the way it is because I've tried. There's two other ones. There's Spectre, and I think the other one's called Image Stack or something.
Okay. Yeah. I've never used that one.
But anyway,
Yeah.
neither one of them are as good, in my opinion, as Reheld. So, um, anyway, so okay, so that's Relapse. I think it's a good app. Check it out. Link in the show notes to the App Store. Now, when I put links in the App Store, folks, it's going to be the Canadian App Store, but it should open up in your own App Store. I hope. If it doesn't, if it asks you to change countries, I don't know. Just search for it in your own App Store and you'll find it. So I want to talk about one more thing before we go to our recent photos,
Hmm.
and that was on the night of May 10th, the world saw something absolutely spectacular. And that was an amazing display of the Aurora Borealis, or it's Aurora Australis, I think, in Australia. But what else it is in the southern hemisphere, I don't know. But there was a massive geometric storm that caused the northern lights. I call it the northern lights because we're in the northern hemisphere, but the Aurora Borealis to just put on a show like you
Hmm.
wouldn't believe. And I have some pictures. Okay, I know Dave's got one for our recent photos, but
Right.
I put three of them up here to show before we go to our recent photos. Now, these three images were taken at about a little after 10 o'clock in the evening that night. I was at work, and
Mm.
this was outside the back door at work. And it's a 3-second handheld shot in night mode on the iPhone, and it picked up the lights. Now, this is edited, yes. And what I've done in the edit is the lights in the building were pretty bright. So these trees at the bottom were somewhat bright looking, and I went to Lightroom Mobile, applied a mask to the foreground, and brought them down a bit because they were just
Mm.
too bright and it just didn't look right. So I made it look a little better by darkening them down, making them look a little more natural. But this is the Northern Lights, and I've never seen them like this before. This was just absolutely incredible. There was there's been millions upon millions of photos of of the aurora put on social media. And I mean, Antarctica, Australia, um, New Zealand, uh, gosh, I don't know where else they were from in the southern hemisphere, but everywhere from Canada, US, Europe, all around the globe in the northern hemisphere, people were taking pictures of this. And so, okay, I was at work on nights, and I was fortunately able to leave at midnight to go chase these things around and see
Mm.
what else I can get. And you'll see another result in our recent photos
Hmm.
of what I did. But uh, I mean, I just went outside and I could see them. I could see them kind of glowing and dancing a bit. Not nearly. The camera picks it up so much better
Hmm.
than than the um, than your naked eye. But I could see them. And once I started taking pictures, I thought, wow, this is incredible.
Well, that was going to be my question was how did the photos compare to your naked eye? Because I can imagine you being further north, you still, even though didn't match the photo, it was still probably brighter than what I was seeing.
Yeah, probably was because where I work, it's on the edge of town for one, so there's a little less light pollution than there would have
Hmm.
been downtown. Um, you could see them, but you couldn't really see too much. Like you could see just a slight hint of color
Mm,
when looking
okay.
at it without the camera. But as
Okay.
soon as you put the camera up, oh man, it just
Hmm.
wow. It was like I don't know how many times better. It was probably 10 times more incredible. Let's just say. Um, it was this is the corona. Now, if you look at your phone now, folks, if you're listening to the podcast, this is what's called the corona of the Northern Lights. It's like it's everything just kind of converges into one spot. And I've seen a lot of pictures of this effect. I think it probably happened at different times, but I've seen a few pictures of it taken around at the same time, and it was just so cool. Now, each color of the aurora represents a different height, from the Earth, and it's hundreds
Mm.
of kilometers. And oh man, it's just crazy. Like this one almost reminded me of the bat signal somewhere. Uh, it reminded me of the movie cover for The Dark Knight
Hmm.
and how that the bat does
Yeah.
that flare or
Or,
whatever.
or even like a phoenix.
Yeah, yeah. Um, it was just an amazing event. It's
Hmm.
just crazy, crazy good. And then the last one I'll show here, this is the rooftop of the plant that I
Mm.
work at. And this is looking, I believe this is looking north. But I mean, to see them that brilliantly in an urban environment like this, it was just
Hmm.
crazy. And people all over the place were completely taken aback by this. It was just unreal. Um, the colors are spectacular. Like okay, and these images they've been edited, so I've boosted the saturation a little bit because that's what
Hmm.
everybody's doing. But I mean, it was close to this. I mean, yes, I boosted it, but I didn't go overboard. Um, but it was just an amazing event. And if anybody missed it, I really feel bad for you because this this is gosh, I haven't seen something like this. I bet you it's been 20 years, 21, 22 years.
They say it was
But
like 20 plus years ago that the last solar storm that was like this. But
yeah,
if you think about it, what were the cameras like 20 plus years ago?
well, I took a picture with a film camera and we lived, just like 2 blocks away from here at the time. And I looked up and I saw something, I saw the sky kind of glowing. I had no
Hmm.
clue what was going on. Yeah, we had the internet back then, but I wasn't really following too much of anything going on in the world.
Right.
But we were out someplace, we got home, it was dark. It was at a time of year, I think, where it got darker much earlier. But I looked up and I saw, what the heck is that? I said, that's got to be the Northern Lights. And if I could dig this picture up, I'll throw it in with the pictures um, when I post them on the Facebook page. But I stood out by the road down at the end of the driveway, put my camera on a tripod, and it was a film camera. And I pointed it straight up and I took I don't know, 20-second shot, 30-second
Mhm.
shot, whatever it was. I don't even remember. And you could see the glow of the lights in the frame. And it was pretty cool. But that's the last time I remember seeing something like this. But
Mhm.
of course, I didn't have a digital camera to pick them up like this. And I only took, I think, probably just the one shot, maybe. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah. Well,
I
not only
was,
the other thing that was kind of mind blowing is sometimes with the iPhone you have to let the camera go how many seconds and let it do its thing. At least for
yeah.
me, the minute I held up the camera, held up the phone, and even before I hit the shutter button, the image on the screen you could see it like it was almost like I don't I saw like the purple reddish hue that was on the sky, but it
Hmm.
was like this is not what this is like wow, because I looked out um when people were first posting images, and I'm like, okay, I'll go out my front door and see what it looks like. And I looked out my front door and I couldn't see a thing.
Yeah.
And it was like, then I saw someone who posted who also lived in Pittsburgh. And I'm like, wait a minute. It's one thing if they're only getting this in like New Hampshire, Vermont, Washington, like places further north than me. But like, okay, this person's actually closer to the city center than I am. So their light pollution would be worse. They're in a denser neighborhood than I am, but they're still in the same area. So if they could get a photo, I should be able to get a photo. So that's when I went out back because we have a street light at the end of our street, which kind of overpower your eyes. So I went in the back where it's a little more shaded, and I turned off all the lights on the outside of the house and gave my eyes a few minutes to adjust. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see it now.
Hmm.
And the shame is it was only the one night.
Yeah.
There was a chance of it happening on Saturday. And I showed the images to Ruth afterwards, and she said, let me know. I wish I would have seen it, but she wasn't over, it was 10:30. She was like, I'm tired after working all
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, they look good. And I said, do you want to? And no, I'm kind of tired. I'm all ready for bed. She was already in that. I'm ready to go to bed.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it was like, okay, we may have a chance for tomorrow, and it just didn't do it.
Yeah, we were full cloud the next night, so there was
Mm,
nothing to get. But when I left work and went around town
mm-hmm.
chasing these things, there was so many people out. I've never seen that many
Oh yeah.
people driving around. Everybody's looking for them and everybody's out looking at them. Cars stopped here and stopped there and everywhere. And so in this last spot I got to, before I went home. It was around 2 in the morning, and I met a couple from Toronto. They drove up from Toronto just to see them,
Mm-hmm.
and another couple who was from town, but they said they were in bed at 10 o'clock. But the woman said her phone was going off with people saying, "Oh, the Aurora, the Northern Lights, Northern
Mm-hmm.
Lights."
Mm-hmm.
So she said they got up out of bed to find out what all the fuss was, and that's where they all ended up in the same spot. And I bet you we were there an hour talking away, and having a great old time. And
Mm-hmm.
during the conversation, my phone's on the tripod for some images, and I'm just taking them as we're talking, or I'm pointing it up at the sky and taking them as we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a really, really cool and fun experience. And uh, boy, oh boy, it's something I'll never forget because,
Yeah.
like I say, a little over 20 years ago we had it then, but young, naive, too stupid. I don't know. I just didn't know anything about it then and didn't care about it as much as I do now. I guess that's
Yeah.
for sure. So it was just really fun. So now we'll move on to let's check the chat here. Um, going back a few minutes, Shane says, Don't you mean cat's meow? Yeah, but no, it was cat's ass. Um, Aurora Australis. Okay, that's what it's called. Will Newcomb, he's in China. Northern Lights, I'm so jealous. I don't know how far south it got over in Asia, but I know in the US there was people that like Matt Hoffman was out getting them.
Yeah,
Mark Sadowski was getting them. Now Joe Ferreira, he's in South Carolina. He says he couldn't see them.
yeah.
Um,
But I did
but
hear people as far south as him saying they could see it.
I saw, I heard reports of Texas
Yeah.
and San Francisco. So maybe it just depends on, I don't know, on the weather that you had at the time. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, Maurice Backley, totally jealous. Was 100% cloud here in the DC area. Yeah, that's just. I know I can feel your pain because on Saturday night we had the same thing, all cloud. Cool with the industrial bit in the foreground. Yes, that I thought that was interesting. To see. Um, I took a few other pictures, and I cannot confirm nor deny that I went on the roof of the building. I can't do that. Um, but I got some pretty cool shots. Um, and Shane, did you ever work out the circles and some? So okay, I'm going to get to that shortly here. Um, I'm not sure if one of my images shows that or not in our recent photos, but so there was when I took a picture when the phone was mounted on a tripod, uh, and I don't remember if they were 30-second images or what, but I don't know if it really mattered. But there was this really weird anomaly right in the center of the frame, and it was these rings. So there was a
Hmm.
big circle and then rings that went out, almost like a ripple effect. And I never noticed it in my own images until somebody in, I think it might have been Shane's group that put a picture there about, is anybody else seeing these rings? And from what I understand, it was only images that were taken from a tripod mounted phone or if it was like sitting someplace um you know steady or whatever, not handheld. It was set down or on a tripod. And I've never seen them before, and it was so weird. And then other people started to say
Hmm.
they started having the same thing. So I sent a couple of sample images to my guy at Apple who works in the camera department, and he put it through to whatever department he mentioned. I forget now, but uh, he submitted them into I don't know if it was QA or who, but I guess they're hopefully going to look into it. Um, After I did that, somebody in the group said, "Looks like Newton's rings." So I looked up Newton's rings on the internet, and it's a weird phenomenon, something to do with the
Hmm.
lens of a camera.
Okay.
I mentioned that to my Apple guy, and he said, yeah, he kind of alluded to he doesn't think it's Newton's ring. He thinks Newton's rings are a little different
Hmm.
than what we were looking at. But either way, I don't know. Hopefully they'll come up with something. But so okay, I'll get to the chat here real quick before we go to our recent photos.
Okay.
Um,
Ah,
but what?
I
What's
think
that?
we're seeing the same thing, but line gate has been fixed.
Oh yes, yes. 17.5, iOS 17.5 has fixed the issue where, so we had Scott Baker on. We talked about line gate, and that's when you took a raw photo, whether it was a long exposure in re-expose or just a straight raw photo, where on if you're holding your phone in portrait mode up like this, it was on the right side of the frame when you're looking at the image. There was a
Mhm.
line that went down. It was not a harsh line, but it kind of faded white and then faded back again, depending on the image. If you took a picture of a plain wall, and so you'd only see this though if you took it in the Lightroom and used the dehaze slider, slide it up, and you could see this line. It was ruining images. Anyway,
Mhm.
17.5 has fixed that. So if you want to know more about it, if you haven't heard about it, go back to that episode with Scott Baker and we talked about it. Um, Todd says, Greg, you mentioned that you were using Pro Camera again in the Moment app, or did you mean ProCam? No, it's called Pro Camera by Kojo Logics, I think is the developer's name. Um, it's a really good app. If you go to David Addison's channel on YouTube, his own channel, not the Reflex videos, he did a video about the last major update, and it looks pretty good. It's pretty good camera app. And
And if you're looking for it, it's a blue box with 5 vertical white stripes.
yeah, the app
Is the
icon, yeah.
icon? Is the icon? And at least in the U.S., it's $15.
Now that's a one-time payment.
Hold on. I may be getting the no. Pro camera, professional camera. Well, that's $15 plus in-app purchases
Oh, okay.
is what it's showing now. So
Yeah, because
it
I
could,
bought it years ago before they started adding these subscriptions and all this other stuff. So I'm kind of grandfathered into it.
yeah, yeah. It looks like they're the one-time purchase. Okay, so it looks like look in the details of this on your own, but it looks like it's $15. There's additional up purchases such as the Vivid HDR, the night camera long exposure, private light box, and there's a one-time purchase of $50, which apparently gives you everything all at once.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
definitely look into it on your own if you're,
Yep. And
you know,
we'll put a link in the show notes for
yep.
the app too. So okay, our recent photos. We're going to start off with one each from the Aurora.
Here we go.
So we'll start with yours here, Dave.
Yep. So this was taken in the backyard. Let me actually, because
And you know what? With the amount of light pollution you have at your place, this is incredible,
yeah, yeah,
right?
it was without even any edits, it turned out pretty good. I did do some edits though, just to kind of uh work a little bit on cleaning it up a bit. Let me, and I'm double checking now on which one. There was a few of these that were very similar. Yeah. What happened is, after I saw the image starting to come up on my phone, I went down, took Ruth's 15 Pro Max, and I said, "You're sleeping, right? Okay, you don't need the phone, right? Okay, I'm going back outside." So I
Yeah.
went back outside. This is with her phone. So this is the
Okay.
15 Pro Max, which gave a lot more details than my 13. Again, when you're in good lit areas without much issue, you can go all the way back to the 11 probably, the 11 Pro, and it takes great pictures. But when you get to those edge cases, you notice the difference between the generations.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is one of those cases. So it's a little more detail. One thing I love about this, and I've seen this with a few, including your photo, you can see the stars through the aurora,
Hmm.
which is just kind of crazy how it literally, and I did do this to make it more of a silhouette look, even though you can see a little bit of the, like my next door neighbor's shed in the back, and the trees, but I wanted to have that silhouette look. It almost looks like if you've ever seen people do paintings where they, just give the sky like a shade or color. Most of the time it's like a sunset, and then they do a silhouette in front.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with the stars here just kind of poking through, this was looking almost directly north.
Okay.
So, yeah, and just the lines that you can see in the sky there,
Hmm.
it was just, now you notice it was harder for me to see the green. So I was seeing purples and reds and pinks, which is a little bit of green, but not much. Your
Oh
photos
yeah.
have a lot more green in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably because I'm further north, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah,
But but yeah, I mean, you know, we've gone over this whole event pretty thoroughly by now, so
yeah.
we won't spend too much time on these
Nope.
ones. But yeah, it's. I mean, again, I can't get over how well this came out, given the amount of light pollution you have.
Yeah.
You know, you've tried to shoot the stars and things like that before, but
Hmm.
what I've noticed is with the iPhone photos, usually there's a real bright spot in the middle of the frame,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And that it's just annoying when you're trying to do astro shots. But in these northern light shots or these aurora shots, you don't see that. I guess it's because there's so much light throughout the whole frame.
Right.
But but yeah, this is cool. You can see a bit of the green at the bottom.
Hmm.
And again, you can look up what the colors mean and something to do with how far the aurora is from the surface of the earth. Like it's something to do with hundreds of kilometers and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I mean that's one of your aurora shots, and that's fantastic. My wife, she stepped out on the back deck in town, like where we live in town here, and she said she could see them with her bare eyes.
Hmm.
But she did take a couple of pictures, and it turned out just like this. Well,
Hmm.
not quite like this because she's got a 12. So hers were pretty decent, but I don't
Yeah.
think you could see as many stars.
That's
Just
like I
like you were
said,
talking about.
it's the edge detail. It's the little
Yeah,
edge detail that doesn't show up as well.
yeah. So my first one is now when I left work, it was at midnight, and by the time I took this, it was probably 1:30 in the morning.
Hmm.
And the light was mostly green now. It was purple at around 10:30 at night. And then when it transitioned to mostly green, I have no idea, but that's what happened. Um, and these are the rings because this was tripod mounted. And forget which lens I used, which camera I used. It might have been the 2X. I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter. I think it was showing up in anything. But these are the rings. You can see them kind of right around here. There's, it's clear in the center, but then once you get a ring somewhere around here, then it just looks like a ripple effect going out. And it drives me nuts now that I know it's there. I think I would have seen it, but this was just
Mm.
down at the harbor front. This building here is probably the most photographed structure in town here. That's the grain elevators. And uh, with the reflection in the water, I suspect this was probably 30 seconds. And
Mm.
but as you can see, the clouds were moving in. So, you know, the fun was ending for us on that
Mm.
night. They were gradually moving in. This is looking, I would say, northwest. And but I was just so impressed to be able to see them
Hmm.
with all the brightness of the building and everything else. I was so impressed to be able to see them in the sky. Um, it was just a cool experience. I can't get over it.
Yeah. And honestly, Greg, if you didn't tell me there was a ring, I thought I would think that it's just part of the anomaly of the aurora.
Yeah. And you know what? I think I think that the rings were caused from the aurora. Like call
Mm.
me crazy, call me stupid. I don't know, but I think it's some kind of an anomaly from the geomagnetic storm. I think it was playing some kind of havoc on the
The
sensor
atmosphere.
through the
Yeah.
lens. It had something to do with,
Yeah.
through the lens. Somebody thought it was like aperture rings or something like that, but I don't know.
Mm.
But I've never seen it before. And I doubt I'll see it again unless there's another event like this. So we'll see. And I said that to the guy at Apple, and but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, that's enough of the Northern Lights. Your second one.
Okay. So this one was actually taken, and I have to look. Well, okay, we can look at the clock actually.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, there you go.
and I believe this is right outside a pizzeria. I was picking up dinner, and a storm was just coming near us. So this is kind of looking northwest. Um, hold on. Hold on. Southwest, sorry, southwest. And I just like the way that it's perfectly clear directly west. But if you go a little further south, you can see all those clouds and the harsh cloud bank there. So that's kind of the look I was going for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Definitely see a storm front there.
Yeah. In fact, I want to say, and I'm going to do a quick check here on when I took that. See if I can find it here.
Just while you're looking at that, I'll
Yeah.
go back to the chat here. Shane says circle gate. Well, I called it ring gate, but yeah, circle gate works too. And he says the rings seem to be only on iPhones. Yes, that's true. I haven't seen or heard of these rings in any other device, and I've now somebody did say they saw it on a 14 Pro. Um, and until that, I'd only heard about it on the 15 Pros. So that's kind of interesting. And then Dale says Magneto is right. I'm not sure what that means, but if it's a reference to oh, what is it? The X-Men?
Oh
Then
yes.
I don't know because
That would be it would be the X-Men. Yes, Magneto.
okay.
Yep.
But what was he right about?
Uh what Magneto or just
Yeah.
that it was Magneto.
No, what was he right about?
Uh
Dale says Magneto was right.
uh let's just say we don't want to go into the full details.
Okay.
It's complicated. It really is.
Okay, we'll skip it.
Yeah. It was a little bit complicated. No, what I wanted to see was, let's see here. I know recently we had a spate of tornadoes that happened.
Ah,
But it was actually, I took the picture on the 10th. It was the 17th that we actually had tornadoes actually come through Pittsburgh. There
really?
was one, yeah, there was the lowest level, the EF0, but it actually hit the zoo parking lot here,
Oh
which
yeah.
is only around 3 or 4 miles away from me.
Mm.
So it was, and there were people who got photos and video of the tornado, and it was not that far away. Yeah,
Wow. Yeah,
yeah,
that's too close for comfort.
most definitely. Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
normally does not happen here.
Yeah. Well, so this image here, I mean, it's uh, it's nice to see the leaves on the trees. I think I mentioned that in the last
Yep,
show, but
yep,
but that storm front that looked like it could have been pretty vicious. And
yeah.
there's a one spot that almost looks like there might be a funnel starting, but it's hard to
Mm-hmm.
tell. Like I don't know
Yeah,
if
and
it's just
this one was just a bad storm, but it was not tornado. I think we had a
yeah.
tornado warning, not a warning, a watch,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
not a warning.
Yeah, that's crazy. Usually we have the same weather, but we didn't have that kind of weather. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, I saw and this is kind of going off, but I'll bring it back in a second. An infographic on how many tornadoes countries get around the world,
Oh yeah.
and Canada is the second most tornadoes on average a year, which I want to say maybe 200 or so a year,
Yeah.
and the U.S. gets around 1,100.
Oh wow. Yeah, the Midwest seems to be the worst. So I think,
Oh,
hey,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's actually getting a little bit worse because things are just getting warmer and Tornado Valley's kind of moving up towards me.
right,
Where one
yeah,
time we you could say, oh, I remember the big outbreak in '85, which was, literally one time we had tornadoes, but other than that, it's like we never got them. But now we have more severe storms. But yeah, so basically Oklahoma going up through, Indiana,
hmm
Southern Illinois, Texas, the flat area of town, the
yeah,
flat area of the U.S. where the cold and the warm air kind of hit. Ohio, parts of Ohio, we start to have enough hills where we normally don't have the right kind of convection and clouds in airflow
Oh yeah.
that allow a
Yeah.
tornado to happen.
Hmm. Well, I'm glad it was, you know, 4 miles away from you at least,
Yeah, and no,
even though
no
it was a
injuries.
category 0 or whatever, but
Yeah, yeah,
still.
yeah. I mean, damage. There were trees down. There was damage, but I don't
Yeah.
think anyone was severely injured. No one was definitely killed. So that's always a
Yeah.
good thing.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Um, so my second one, so these were all shot on the same night, actually. And I thought, well, you know what? Since I'm out and around town at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was by this time, I thought I'd just take some pictures of, things around the town at night. Um, this was, oh shoot, you know what? This was not the same night. This was the next night.
Okay.
I left work early again. I was able to do that. And I went around thinking, okay, well, I'll just see if the aurora is out, but
Right.
it wasn't. It was too cloudy. So I
Mm,
thought, I'm going to take a few pictures that I've been wanting to take for a while. And this is just looking from a bridge on the street, the main street that goes through town, and the harbor comes right in, like, and behind me now would be a river that comes out and comes out into the harbor. And
right.
so this is off the bridge looking at, that's a lake freighter that's in town for repairs or whatever. And quite often we'll have two or three lake freighters in town that stay for the winter. But in the summer, if they come into town, they just come in for some, maintenance or whatever, and then they're on their way again. And so that grain elevator building, that's what you see in the middle, in the right in the middle of the frame there, with no light shining on it because the lights in the foreground and on the ship were kind of overpowering that. And this was just a handheld night mode shot, and I believe it's with the 5X. And you know what? All I did was I think I might have bumped up the contrast a little bit and the saturation. I think that's all I did. But that's just our harbor front. You could
Mm-hmm.
go, you could walk way out past the ship on the right there and then come back around across the bridge that I'm standing on. And then the walkway on the left goes, you see it where it goes there, then it makes a left, um, you know, and then it eventually comes around and you could drive down to where that grain elevator is. And just on the north side of the grain elevator, which is the far end, this is looking north, you can, people go fishing out there and whatever. So, but yeah, that's just our local harbor, and I thought it looked kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. And one nice thing about a lot of the iPhone pictures being natural as possible, you could tell it was at night.
Yeah,
It doesn't look artificially lightened or, uh remember when Google first came out with their version of a night mode?
yeah, night
And it
sight.
took, yeah, night sight, and it went from a dark image like what you're seeing here with enough details to it looked completely bright like middle of day.
Yeah, yeah.
And but
Well, this
both
did look a
cameras, I would
little
say
lighter
both.
originally. This did
Okay,
look a little
needed
lighter
some
originally,
adjustments.
but not much. But I did
Yeah.
darken it down a bit. So this one, I've been waiting to hear about this one from you, Dave.
And this is Daisy. And
Yeah,
if you were on video, you saw her earlier as Ruth brought her in.
yeah,
Ruth's been wanting to get either a puppy or a kitten. And it was kind of like, yeah, puppies, but there they are a lot of work and housebreaking and everything else. So I don't want to say we decided on it, but kind of said, okay, kitten we can do. And we went to our local humane society.
Oh, nice.
And they actually have like two or three facilities around Pittsburgh. And let me sure I'm not frozen there. Two or three facilities, and this one's a newish one. So you just kind of go in, you see the different cats around there. They were not overcrowded, which is always good to see.
Hmm.
And she was there with her three siblings. and her mother.
Oh wow.
So so now known as Daisy, at the time Alfalfa,
Oh really?
because they named the four kittens like Alfalfa, Sprout,
Oh yeah.
that kind of theme. The mother's 2 years old, and all the kittens were 2 months.
Oh wow.
And we looked at the mom, and it said medically not cleared. And Ruth went out for and said, "Oh, that means everything's fine." But the vet, and then another couple looked at it, and they said, "Oh yeah, yeah, she's up for adoption." But the mom did go home with the other couple,
Oh okay.
and two of her siblings were adopted the same day together, and it was her and her sister, looked very much alike, black and white spots.
Hmm.
um Daisy here, very outgoing though, very very outgoing. So we did the adoption, brought her home. They said keep her by herself for a week or two just in case she has a respiratory thing from, you know that, make sure no one else gets it. And then of course go see her vet and get her tested for all the stuff. Should see, but she is fixed.
Oh
But
yeah.
just get her. Yeah, yeah. They do, or I didn't know they could do it that young, but she's fixed, so that's a good thing. That was included with the adoption price.
Oh okay.
So that's like, okay, yeah, it's $40 to fix the animal, so that's included in the 110 that we paid, and all the vets and checkup and all the early stuff that needed to be done. So that was included. Um, and we brought her home. She's in a room by herself right now. Like I said, she's just getting used to things.
Hmm.
But it's apt because that room, there's a little, because we took the carpet out of that room. It's only hardwood, so there's like a half-inch gap between the floor, the bottom of the door, and the floor, and she can get her little paw out
Oh yeah.
and grab at stuff that's out there. So she's been
Yeah.
doing that when like the other cats and the dogs have been getting there. And the dogs are sniffing under the door.
Oh yeah.
And we did put up um not officially a fence, but was one of these peg boards. So we put that
Hmm.
horizontal so we could leave the door open a little bit, get some fresh air, a little more fresh air, since it was a little warm for her, and she can't get out, and the other cats can't get in. But yeah, so there's a still little bit of a little growly on one cat, and the other one really doesn't want to pay attention to her with the dogs.
Yeah.
They
But
are,
they're getting older too, right?
yeah. Rosie is 10 and a half. Leo is 13.
Yeah.
The puppies are 5 and 6.
Oh yeah.
But I think Rosie's just growling a little bit, like, "Who are you?" But
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
but nothing overly aggressive, you know.
Yeah.
So I think she'll get along fine with her. The dogs are just happy. They're barking, but they're like happy barking, not
Yeah.
aggressive barking. Like, hi, hi, hello, hello,
Yeah.
hello, hello. I want to be your friend. I want to be your friend. Hello, 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 hello. So, and she literally, like, we'll go in there and we'll lay down on the bed because it's a spare bedroom, and she'll come up and she'll lay next to us. She'll flop it down. You hear her purring. She has no problem with us carrying her around.
Hmm.
um she's jumping here and there and everywhere, eating, doing all the good stuff like kittens are supposed to do. She's using her litter box. There was no
Well, that's
question of
good.
she We set it up. They gave us litter. It's a corn based litter, so it's a different one than I normally use, but it's lightweight and it seems to work really good, and it lasts like a month
Oh yeah.
for a cat. So I'm like, oh, I like that better. uh but yeah, she's got no problem at all.
Yeah.
She's just
Well,
adjusting very well.
um, what I like about this picture is, she's center,
Hmm.
which is usually kind of a no-no, but it works with this one. But what I like is the different layers going up. You've got,
Yeah.
like a some kind of a plaid the clothing or whatever, and
Yeah.
then something brown, and then white, and then you get the background that's in different colors and that.
Hmm.
So I just like the way the image flows up through, but with the cat being right in the center, with the eyes a little bit above center, almost at the 2/3 line mark, it just works. It really works well,
Hmm.
and it's a pleasing image to look at. So, um, and I mean, she's cute as a button
Oh
too.
yeah. Nice.
I
And I
love the
also love the
eyelashes.
yeah, and I love the way her paws are just crossed.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like she's actually literally posing.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and this was my phone, and this was taken portrait mode,
Oh yeah. Okay.
which I
Yeah.
generally don't do with our animals, just because it's hard to get them to not move.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it worked out good. It worked out good.
Yeah. 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 She's definitely a cutie, and
Oh yeah.
hey, congrats on the new edition.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
Um, so my last one is again, it's downtown, and actually, this was just after I took the last one, looking at the ship out in the harbor. All I did was I walked across the bridge to the other side and looked up. This is the main 4-lane street, highway, whatever you want to call it, that goes right through town from east to west. And if you look right in the center of the frame, you can see where it goes up on a hill. There's hills that go up on both sides of town. Um, and what I liked about the fact of this night is that the streets were wet. And if you're going to do
Mm,
night photography of streets, it's always best that it's right after a rainfall because the shine on the street reflects the street lights and whatever a lot better than if it was dry. So that's another reason why I kind of took a few shots around town, and I just looked, straight up the sidewalk and tried to frame it, with a what I thought was a pleasing composition. And that building on the left there is one, two, five, six, seven, eight. It's an 8-story building. That is the tallest building we have. So eight stories is our tallest building. Our
mm,
hospital is only like 6, I think. So we don't have a lot of you know wonderful tall buildings to make a nice cityscape or anything.
yeah.
That's it. That's the tallest one,
Yeah.
and it kind of sucks. I wish we had taller ones, but um,
It's
I
all a
think.
matter. Really, it's all a matter of, I hate to say what you need, because there's tons of little towns around Pittsburgh itself that have, unfortunately, their population crashed
Oh yeah,
around 40 years ago when all the mills shut down.
right.
So their downtowns are, I hate to say overbuilt, because I think they could come back,
Hmm.
but they're all like these 4 or 5 story buildings, but they're not really used anymore.
Yeah,
So yeah, like I said, in terms of a town your size, if you have a bunch of really tall buildings, it doesn't really fit in with the rest of the town, sticks out, and just doesn't let anything flow as well.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I think there's actually a like kind of like a bylaw or something in town that limits the number of floors you can put in a building. I'm not sure. I thought I heard that somewhere, but um, what I like too about it, no cars, no people, just
Mm-hmm.
completely, barren. Um, but anyway, yeah. So that's just a shot I took at night, and um, I generally don't go downtown at night by myself because things happen. There's things have happened in this town, and it's if I was with somebody, I probably wouldn't have any issue with it. But just when I'm by myself, I'm not comfortable with it. But it's not to say that it's a terrible town or anything, but you know, there's been a few incidents, let's just say. So I try not to do that too much. But anyway, so well, that's our recent photos,
Mm-hmm.
and I would have to say that's our show. So thanks to everybody in the chat room who
Mm-hmm.
stuck around for the YouTube video, and we're always glad to have everybody. I know I'm terrible at um, putting it out there when we're coming on. I got to get better at that. Like Shane, when he does the live stream, he has a thumbnail on YouTube saying coming up, and I got to figure out how to do that. But also, my Zoom um, membership is going to be ending, I believe, sometime next month. So, Dave, we're going to have to come on here at some point
Mm,
with OBS and give it a whirl. I
yep.
don't think it'd be too complicated to get it out that way, but I think that's the way we're going to go with it. And we'll probably just use like FaceTime or something
Yeah.
or whatever we can do to make it work. Anyway, we'll figure that out.
Well,
But
yeah, we're gonna have to figure it out because I'm on my work computer, which is a PC.
oh, right, okay. So what do you use
So
for video conferencing?
Microsoft Teams, but I can
Okay.
use WebEx or well, it's something we can figure it out off camera too.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, all right. Well, thanks everybody for playing along, and all the links in the show notes, either on the Facebook page or in the podcast app that you're watching or listening to this on, and you can check out the any apps that we talked about and all that stuff. You'll be able to see the pictures there too
Mhm.
if you can't see them on your podcast player. So. Um, Thanks, Dave. Great talk. And thanks again to everybody in the chat room for showing up. And we'll see everybody on the next one.
Have a great one, everyone.